The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
This week's episode is dedicated to grace. The title of the episode is Meeting Challenge with Creativity. Welcome to my interview with the fabulous and illustrious Vanessa Ford. You may not realize the signs. One day you feel whole, purposeful, and full of energy. The next day you feel just out of sorts. Though nothing has changed in your outside world, something inside feels off balance. You work out religiously, but the slice of pizza you only looked at the night before and you didn't even eat somehow seemed to have found its way onto your scale. Your skin is drier. The gray hairs seem to have appeared overnight. You love life, yet your energy levels wax and wane. Should you give away those fabulous clothes in your closet that no longer fit, or do you hold on to them thinking that more exercise and a stricter diet will help you to wear them again with confidence? You love your partner, yet sometimes you think of the unspeakable. You're hot and sweating at 3 p.m., then cold and reaching for a cashmere pashmina the next. Whatever this is, it's temporary. Maybe it's even normal. Maybe it doesn't even have to be this way. Vanessa is the co-founder of Meno Labs, a company focused on women's issues during perimenopause and menopause. She and her friend of 20 years, Danielle Jacobs, created Meno Labs to address what they see as a glaring need in every woman's life. Vanessa Ford was prompted to action when at 44, she began her own transition into menopause. Unsatisfied with the lack of support that women experience during this stage of life, and finding the stereotypes of women in midlife exasperating and insulting, she met the challenges of this stage of a woman's life with creativity and with fierceness. Named a top 10 finalist in the Cartier Women's Initiative, who doesn't love Cartier? Vanessa believes that for-profits can change the world and make a difference in people's lives with the same passion for mission used by nonprofits. And in fact, they probably should do so if they're willing to truly be successful. She is herself successful on a mission to make life better for others and doing it all with authenticity and flair. She joins me today via StreamYard to discuss transitioning with grace and, of course, fabulousness. Welcome, Vanessa. Congratulations on all of your success. And thank you for becoming a beautiful member of the Forever Fab community. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I don't know if I should call you Dr. Shirley, Dr. Madhere. I really want to call you Dr. Madhere, but everyone seems to call you Dr. Shirley.
It's sort of the compromise. Dr. Madhere sounds so like formal and rigid. And I know that's like what's on my diplomas and everything. But I figure if I combine the doctor, the title with my first name, it makes it a little bit more approachable. And right. So Dr. Shirley's fine.
Okay. I will call you Dr. Shirley, but you know,
right.
The academic in me just sort of bristles at it.
I know. I could imagine.
Why? It's very funny when we are taught structures,
yes,
and then we purposefully try to break those structures, right? It can feel like we're doing something inappropriate.
Yes.
But I think breaking down structures is so important for a lot of different reasons. So congratulations for going with Dr. Shirley. I totally get it, even though I feel weird about it.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, listen, if not for breaking down structures, where would we be, especially women, right?
Exactly. Yes. Hallelujah. Say it again.
Hallelujah. I wish I could remember what I just said, but I do remember actually. Were it not for breaking down structures, where would we be as women? And you are definitely a disruptor, a leader, and an innovator. So let's get into that.
Okay. Well, I love to talk about it. So, okay, I'm game.
Awesome. So what did your mother teach you about the change?
Nothing. No, look, I love my mother, but she had a hysterectomy when she was in her, mid to late 30s, for a couple of reasons. And, she went into menopause because it was surgically induced, but we never talked about it. She didn't say anything. She just said, I'm not going to have any periods. Woohoo. Right.
Yeah.
And that was it. That's all I got. And I was also very close with my grandmother, who I lost last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she never said anything either. But I do remember my mother saying that, she always felt as a teenager like she was doing something wrong because her mom was always angry and distressed. And you know what? In retrospect, we all looked back on it and went, oh, it was menopause. But we didn't talk about it right back then.
Yeah.
And it made a difference in their relationship, and a negative difference for a long time. So, that is not the only reason I started this company, but in retrospect, it is something that women really need to be on top of, communicating with our children about what's happening to us and our partners, so that they don't think that, this is, their wife or their mom completely losing her mind and not loving them anymore. Right.
Yeah. Let's speak to that because, listen, we all know the changes that occur at a certain stage of a woman's life. I mean, these changes are natural. They're part of an evolutionary process, but it isn't. Those changes are impactful and they can definitely affect relationships and just our sense of well-being. So what are some of the negative comments that you heard about perimenopause and menopause in general?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. I hear from women all the time about how what they're experiencing is making their work life suffer, right? It's putting their career trajectory in jeopardy. It's impacting their relationships in negative ways. They feel like they don't have control of their bodies because they've got the hot flashes and, the weight gain. Even increased allergies can be a thing when you are in perimenopause and menopause, oddly enough. And they tell me that they feel like they don't have control of their minds, right? The brain fog kicks in. They don't remember what name they were supposed to call someone or what word is supposed to be appropriate in this sentence or the slide that's coming up next in their presentation for work, right? Because their brains just seem to be sort of scattered and all over the place. And that's very typical, but not something that we talk about. And so women feel like they're at a loss. They have no rudder when it comes to navigating all of these impacts that happen in every aspect of their life.
Right. And by the way, that happens for men also. It happens to be called andropause, but nobody talks about that. And of course, everything is just fine. It's just that they're in a bad mood for a month, They made a bad business decision and the deal blew up. Oh, well, there'll be another deal.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think we, especially for women in midlife, when a woman is done with her reproductive years, we just tend to put her on the shelf.
Yeah.
Right. And especially in the medical community, especially when it comes to research around women's needs after their reproductive years are starting to, I tell women, if you went to a doctor and you were pregnant today and they would classify your pregnancy as a, oh no, what's the word now? It's totally escaped me. As a geriatric pregnancy, then you need to start thinking about perimenopause and menopause. Right? And that's when the research into what women need, aside from reproductive issues, is lacking. And so that's one of the things that Danielle and I decided when we started this company that we were really going to focus on was how are we going to not just change the treatment options from a natural perspective, which we do,
yes,
and the education that women get around this topic, which we do, but how can we fundamentally change the way research is done so that women get the help they need now?
Yeah.
Because you know what? I was not willing to suffer. And when I was 44, I'm going to be 50 next year. When I was 44, I was suffering and it wasn't fun. And I don't suffer anymore because I have the research and the knowledge and the products to assist me.
Right. So that is definitely one of the things that motivated you and Danielle to start this company, to address, issues of women at a certain stage, and even the women who were not yet at that stage, but to just sort of let us know what may be coming. But you have a very interesting approach. It's like a three-pronged approach to your philosophy and to your mission. Describe that for me.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you bringing up the fact that we're a mission-driven company in the intro, because I feel like if you're a business owner and you don't have a mission that drives what you do, you're not ultimately going to do the right thing for your customer, right? And I am our customer, quite frankly.
Yeah, I get it. Yes.
When I was 44, I had a 3-week period. Wow. And it was miserable and I didn't know what was going on. I thought I had cancer. My doctor said, no, you're 44. This is perimenopause. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
She had to really help me, put me on the research path, which ultimately led to this company. But I didn't know what it was. And I was miserable. And when I finally had this conversation with my doctor and she, put me in the right direction, Danielle and I got together and I was telling her, I'm going through this stuff and I think I found a solution. There's a researcher at the University of Arizona who's found these interesting connections with probiotics and gut health for women in midlife. And I think there's something here that's like a viable business. Now, I'm not a businesswoman. Danielle is the businesswoman in this relationship, right? She's been a businesswoman with Fortune 500 companies, right? She knows what she's doing.
Yes.
And I said, well, do you think there's something here? And she said, absolutely, there's something here. And I said, I want us to have a mission, not just to sell products, but to fundamentally change a couple of really broken things in our society. And she said, let's do it.
Yeah. Now that's a mission, right?
Yeah. And I really appreciate that about her can-do attitude, her ability to tackle projects and issues when they come up, in just this kind of really inspiring way. I just love her. She's one of my favorite people on the planet.
That's wonderful. I mean, based on what you just said, you make it sound as if, menopause can actually be sexy. The stage of life can be sexy.
Okay, I'm here to tell you that absolutely it can be. So I have one child. She's grown now. She's going to be 25 next year.
Kudos.
And, so my husband and I are empty nesters. We've been married for 30 years.
Yes.
Or together for 30 years, married for, I think, coming up on 26. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But here's the thing. When I was 40, I started having this, what I call menopause rage, right? This complete irrational anger at things that totally feels justified in the moment, right? You absolutely feel like he should have put his dirty clothes in the hamper instead of on the floor next to the hamper.
And the sky is blue, damn it! The sky is blue.
Exactly. But when I realized, looking back, after I had this eye-opening conversation with my doctor, I was like, oh, wow. That is what is happening. It is like a menopause rage thing. It's not that I don't love my husband anymore, right? And he thought that I didn't love him anymore.
Oh.
And that's what I'm saying. When you're going through this, if you can be honest with your partner and your children and your coworkers and your boss and whoever else it affects, right?
Yeah.
If you can just give them a heads up about what's going on with you, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I imagine that it does. I mean, because I think for the longest time, for decades, I went to medical school and I learned about the reproductive system. I learned about women's health, but I still feel to this day that what I learned was just not the whole thing. It just wasn't the whole story. There's so much more, and there's so much that we don't know that we have yet to put together. I mean, you mentioned probiotics and the whole management of the microbiome and that community of microorganisms that really probably are a lot more in control than we know.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot we don't know there, right? The human genome wasn't even completely decoded until recently. The National Institute of Health didn't consider menopause as a subject worthy of funding until 2016. That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Right? There's so much we don't know and so much research we need to do in terms of menopause, in terms of probiotics, in terms of a whole host of things that are related to women's health in midlife and beyond. And if we can, just as women, start fighting for that to be included and to be something that people take seriously, researchers take seriously, we've got to advocate for ourselves. We just have to.
Now, it's very interesting that you and I are having this conversation today about the end of a women's reproductive cycle and abilities, and yet what Texas just did.
Oh, I know.
Girl, okay, that's a completely separate podcast.
Yeah.
And that is hotter than hot flashes, so we're not going to go there today. But let me get back to the original question. So, mentioning that there's so much we don't know and so much research to be done, and that I went to medical school and feel as if, yes, I learned something, but just not everything. So I do think medical education and the research sector is lacking in a way in understanding, or at least wanting to understand, women's health and well-being. So now that we've made some headway over the past several years, do you think there is enough motivation or incentive, translation, dollars, in the research, right, into women's health and well-being to motivate these companies to get it done?
I absolutely do. And here's the reason I say that. So HRT is a $25 million industry.
Yeah,
right?
Hormonal replacement
Just
therapy.
Hormone replacement therapy. Exactly, yeah. And that is typically what doctors tell women they need when they get to this stage of their lives. Oh, you need HRT and antidepressants. That's what they know to prescribe.
Right.
But I think that larger companies are starting to realize that menopause is a thing that's going to affect them. And here's why. The millennials are turning 40. That's
what?
Yeah, I know. Doesn't that make you feel freaking old?
Where did the time go?
Exactly. And so you have the largest generation of people ever born on the planet entering the perimenopausal phase this decade. It is about to become a conversation that completely blows up as women in that age group start to understand what's going on to them, and they have the ability to get onto social media and talk about it, right? And it is an open forum discussion. So that's the first thing. The other thing is women are the largest growing segment of the workforce. And if you cannot address their health needs right now, it's an economic issue. It's a macroeconomic issue. And I think companies are starting to see that. There's a lot of traction in the menopause space.
Yep. I like it. I really do.
You too.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that we are making some headway. Now, we talked about the microbiome. We talked about gut health. Now, what do you think the role of nutrition is in managing either the onset or the symptoms of peri and menopause? And how did you incorporate that information and that knowledge into your formulations?
Well, so I'm not a product researcher, right? I'm not a doctor, but I found a doctor who is.
Yes.
His name is Dr. John Canellis. He's out of the University of Arizona, and he's been doing research into women's midlife health for 30 years.
Good for him.
Right? I know. He studied with a woman who really opened his eyes to what it was about 35 years ago. So kudos to her.
Right.
And he found a correlation between probiotics and women's midlife health. And he's done a lot of different studies around stress and the onset of menopause and just a whole bunch of other things. He's done some work around women's heart health that's really fascinating. So anyway, he found this connection between women's health, estrogen deconjugation, which is a woman's ability to sort of, I'm going to break it down into super, super basic scientific terms, but
Perfect.
if you want to jump in, you feel. So essentially, a woman can recycle or reuse the estrogen in her body.
Right. That's right.
Now, probiotics, what they'll do if you have the right probiotics in your gut, they will help assist that process so that fat doesn't get, or that estrogen doesn't get passed out into your feces or your urine as a waste product, or stored in your fat cells, which is the other way that your body, tries to hold on to estrogen because it knows it needs it, right? It's responsible for regulating pretty much every system in a female body.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so that's really cool. I'm very excited about that because if you can teach your body or give your body the proper nutrients to say, oh, this estrogen molecule compound thing, I'm not going to throw it away. It isn't, a waste byproduct. It's actually something that I can recycle and reuse, and it'll make me feel better.
Yeah, and it does make you feel better. I am living proof. But we also put into our formula, you can buy probiotics off the shelf.
Yes.
You can buy phytoestrogens off the shelf.
Yes.
And you can get vitamins and minerals. But what I was trying to do when I realized this was my issue, perimenopause, I was trying to put together these probiotics, like 4 or 5 of them, as well as some phytoestrogens that I thought might be helpful when I did all this research, and some vitamins and some minerals. And I was like taking 30 different pills a day. And that was not sustainable and not okay with me. And that's what I approached Danielle with was, do you think we can put all of this stuff into one pill? And that's what we did. We put phytoestrogens that help you, kind of balance out your estrogen fluctuations right away in 7 to 10 days. And then the probiotics, as well as some prebiotics as well in that formula. We put them all into this one pill with some vitamin B and some vitamin K and, all the things that women tend to be lacking in. We decided to just put it on one pill. We did. And that's not an easy thing to do, let me tell you.
No, I know it is not, because believe me, I have thought so many times when I take out my huge pill box, with the 5 rows of 5, whatever. I'm like, oh my God, I had to divide it into 3 stages. Stage 1 after breakfast, 10 pills. Stage 2 after lunch, another 10 pills. And oh my gosh, stage 3, another 10 pills, not right before bed, but right after dinner, so that I don't wake up in the middle of the night to use the loo from drinking all that water, right? So that is quite the accomplishment. So it sounds as if, based on your research and the products you have formulated, that the uncomfortable symptoms of perimenopause and menopause can, dare I say, be prevented altogether. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that statement. We actually just got the results of our first clinical study back on our products. And our customers report up to 92% reduction in hot flashes.
Wow.
I know. 71% increased mood. So an overall feeling of being happier. Yeah. An 80% decrease in mood swings. I mean, it's just, off the charts amazing. And this was so, Danielle and I said we wanted to disrupt the way we do research fundamentally. And so that's what we did. We built an app that is the largest data set of midlife women ever studied when it comes to menopause. So we took 6,694 women.
Wow.
1,800 of them were Menolabs customers and the others were not. Mm-hmm. And we de-identified their data. They tracked their symptoms in our app. It's called MenoLife. And then we pulled all that data out, and Dr. Canillas looked at it and did a deep dive in it. And found out all of these fantastic things about our product. And that's what we aim to do when it comes to research is collect real world data rather than, and data sets of thousands of women rather than, a few dozen. Right. Which is what the normal clinical study will do.
Yes.
Because I think you find better patterns, more interesting patterns, right? You can really get granular with your level of study in a way that you can't with a normal clinical study. So I'm very excited about this research.
I'm so glad that you put the MenoLife app out there, because I think it's brilliant, right? To complement a product with an app that serves to be educational, but also gives you data to be able to observe the effects of your products or not, right? You have your own your own sample size and your own, controls of people who are on it versus people who are not. And so to complement your physical product, the supplement with this app is, I think, a fantastic idea because data is important. And while we all know the titanium standard of clinical studies is the, double-blind placebo randomized control trial, but we all know that costs millions of dollars to perform, right? Hello?
It does.
Right. So we don't necessarily have time for that right away.
Right. Well, let me tell you, apps are not cheap to build either.
Yeah.
But what's really great about this app is it doesn't just serve for women, for us to collect data.
Yeah.
It serves as a way for women to get the answers that they need because we've got a whole community side where we have articles and videos and you name it, it's on there so that women can get educated because that's a huge missing component. And talk to each other. They can talk to each other. It's a community as well. But you can also input your triggers. A lot of women are not aware that the things that they eat, the activities they engage in can trigger the symptoms that they feel later on. And so we pre-built all that in so that you can say, I had a hot flash and I drank a glass of wine an hour before.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So that they're starting to be able to take control, even if they don't take MenoLabs products, they can use the app for free and track all of this stuff and start to take control of their symptoms and ultimately of their lives. Because like we said in the beginning, this can be so disruptive. And you shouldn't have to take a pill. And there is no such thing as a magic pill. I'm going to put that out there. And anybody who tells you there's a magic pill, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
But you can take control of your symptoms just by understanding that what you eat, what you drink, what you do matters.
Agreed. And you know what? I think the education is absolutely quintessential because it's in educating yourself that you can take control of your body and your life. And I believe that if you know yourself, oh my gosh, then there's nothing that you can't do. Knowing yourself is extremely powerful. And for some people, listen, it's not just a stage of perimenopause or menopause. Maybe that's the impetus to be like, oh my gosh, let me figure out what's going on with my body. But knowing yourself, this lifelong ongoing process of getting to know yourself better, I think is really key. Now let's talk specifically about your products. The packaging on the supplements is beautiful. Now, of course, I am attracted to beauty in all of its forms. It's what I happen to do for a living. I saw the packaging and I thought, oh, wow, this is sexy. Why was beautiful packaging important for you?
We wanted, when Danielle and I first started talking about what our probiotics would look like, right? Because we started off with the probiotics and we expanded our product suite as we went. When we were talking about it, we said, I had all these pills, these 30 bottles of pills floating around on the top of my microwave, right? Because I was trying to remember to take them all and everything. And I said, I really wanted to live on my beauty counter with my lipstick. I'm a lipstick junkie.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you later what your one favorite beauty product was, but we'll figure out something else.
Okay. Well, I won't say lipstick, even though it kind of is. Anyway, I said I wanted to be, as beautiful as my lipstick. I wanted to live on my beauty counter. I don't want to tuck it away in a cabinet in my kitchen and forget about it. I don't want it to live on my microwave, right? I want it to be somewhere that makes me feel pretty because I want to feel pretty, right?
Yes.
I want to, and I want my products to be pretty. And so we talked about it and we looked at ways to make sure that they were sustainable packaging, that they were friendly to the earth, because that's another passion of mine.
Yes.
And when we have this fantastic graphic designer who made these beautiful goddesses for us.
Yes.
And I just love them.
They are beautiful.
I have a bit of a mythology background in terms of my academic upbringing. So it really just spoke to me on a personal level. And I thought that it would speak to a lot of women if they could have something beautiful that lived on their beauty counter instead of in their medicine chest.
Yeah, agreed. It is, the packaging is outstanding. I mean, from the colors to the goddesses. So it's just like, oh, I just want a few of them to sit on my beauty counter, like you said.
Well, and so we expanded our product suite. Now, the interesting thing is we only incorporated this company in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And we sold our first product in February of 2020, just before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And so we have managed to expand our product suite by 6 additional offerings.
Excellent.
In that time, which is really fantastic and something we're super proud of. And one of those things is collagen, right?
Yes, I've noticed that. Yes.
And fiber. And you know, I think back to my mother-in-law always took a certain kind of fiber that I won't name here, but we all know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and she was embarrassed about it because it meant that she was constipated, right?
Right.
And when we were building the collagen and the fiber bags, we were like, you know what? We want these to be pretty too.
Yes.
I want these to live on a counter so that a woman doesn't feel ashamed and embarrassed about what's going on in her body. She feels empowered.
Right.
I think that's what beautiful packaging can do.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, they say you are what you eat, but the corollary to that is you are what you don't eliminate. So,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if somebody tells you you're full of it, they better grab your fiber and collagen supplement and down it.
I love it.
Now, very briefly, I know this is quite a complex process, but just so that our listeners understand what it takes, the dedication, the time, the expense to create what you've created, very briefly, what was your start to finish process in creating a supplement line, literally from ideation to your first sell in 2020 before the pandemic?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we move very, very rapidly. We are a company that believes that you fail forward. So every time we take a misstep, we just use it to inform the next step. And so we have been able to do things very, very quickly. We built the app in parallel. Wow. So that essentially means that your one development team is working on a piece of it while the other development team is running on another piece of it. And it was a 24/7 build because we have developers all over the world.
Nice.
And so we were able to just keep going. We didn't take a break when it turned nighttime in the United States, right?
Yes.
So, but what it looks like is probably different for every company, but for us, what it looked like was we talked with Dr. Cornelis to get his input into what kinds of things should be in this formula. We got a research and development team together, which consisted of Danielle, myself, a couple of other partners, and then Dr. Cornelis, who were invested in this product and this mission of ours. And that product development, took about 3 months, which is, really quite fast.
Yes, it is.
And then sourcing the products went hand in hand with that. So as we were developing and really diving into the ingredients, we were also sourcing them because we knew that if we needed to kick it out of the formula, that was fine. And we then wouldn't buy the raw materials for it. But if we needed it, we wanted to know that we had it sourced already. So again, working in parallel is very important. So that's what we did. We incorporated in 2019. Our first products were delivered to us in our warehouse in the early part of February, and we put them up for sale as soon as we got them. Absolutely. And we had also been, grooming a list of people, telling them, hey, this product is coming. If you're interested, please sign up for our newsletter. You'll be the first to know about it, and you'll have a special offer when it is finally available. And we had, I believe the number was 80,000 women on that list.
Wow.
So, and we started grooming that list in January, so that when our products hit in February, there we were. And we had 80,000 women already interested in our product and wanting to know more about it. And then, of course, the app we developed in parallel, and we have made an app that is probably about a $10 million build.
Wow. That is
and that's
serious.
Conservative.
Yeah. Yeah, that's serious.
So, and this is funded completely by Danielle and myself.
Wow. Congratulations. That is absolutely impressive. Like absolutely impressive. And you mentioned earlier that the environment, is important to you, right? People, planet, profits, right? So
Yes.
How did you find a manufacturer who would formulate to your specifications about being sustainable and green and clean? That must not have been easy.
No, it's not an easy process, but there are several really fantastic manufacturers in the United States that we have great relationships with. We don't have just one source for anything.
Right.
We always have product pipeline redundancies built in, and the manufacturers that we work with are all clean, good manufacturing process certified, so that that they're being created in clean labs. We buy our probiotics and our raw materials directly from people that we trust, sources that we trust. So, it's not an easy process.
Yes.
But we happen to have some inroads with some of the people that we knew, including Dr. Cornelis. He pointed us in the right direction for a lot of these things. So we really, it is a team effort. You cannot do something like this by yourself.
Right. And I presume it's a full-time effort as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we probably collectively, as a team, I would say everybody puts in, 70 on the leadership team. Everybody puts 70, 80 hours in every week minimum, but we believe in what we're doing and we're passionate about it. And so it doesn't feel like work at all.
Yes. And not only that, you're helping to make the world a more beautiful place.
I really hope so. if for no other reason, but that we hear from customers all the time who say, you helped me. You've changed things for me. If you go to our website, you'll see thousands of fantastic reviews. We have reviews on Amazon. Women love what we're doing. And the more they tell us that we love what we're doing, the more we're just motivated to do more of it.
Good for you. Now, from all of the SKUs or the supplements that you have, which one product would you say is the basic irreducible minimum with which to start if in the early stages of perimenopause? Or let's say someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm 35. This is what's coming next. Let me get a product. What can help? What's the one that you'd start with?
The one that is our flagship product. We started off with 4 probiotic blends. And our customers have slowly told us over the last year that they want 2 of them. And the one they want overwhelmingly is called MenoFit.
Okay.
And it is formulated to help reduce hot flashes, to help mitigate weight gain. Again, there's no magic pill, ladies, and I don't want you to think that there is a magic pill for weight loss.
But there's hope, Vanessa.
There is hope, absolutely, and we have hope. But if you have the right probiotics in your gut, they can help reduce your cravings. They can help keep that estrogen from being stored in fat cells. There's a lot that probiotics can help your body with, and there's not a lot of time to go into it here, but if you're interested, go to the website. It's menolabs.com.
Yes,
but
excellent.
MenoFit is where you should start. Now, I take MenoFit and MenoGlow, which is formulated for hot flashes and mood swings, but also for moisture retention. So, for brittle nails, dry hair, dry skin, dry vaginas, dry eyes, right? Anything where you need moisture and you're losing it, MenoGlow can help.
That's fantastic. So other than menolabs.com, you mentioned Amazon. Are you also selling on Amazon?
Yes, we have products on Amazon. Women over there love them just as much. But you know what? Sometimes I feel like customers trust that marketplace, right? As a trusted Amazon. Everybody knows that.
Right.
And so they will buy on Amazon and they won't buy on our website, even though, there's often price breaks and that sort of thing. And that's totally okay. We do have a 90-day money back guarantee if you buy from our website. Because we want we don't want you to feel like this product didn't work for you and you're at a loss. If something doesn't work for you, we want to make it right. We have a top-notch customer service team. I was in customer service in my early days, so I understand what it takes to be top-notch customer service, and we made sure that we have it in this company. Because it's no good to just send people products and, and release them into the wind and never hear from them again. Right. You have to do right by your customer.
Yeah, follow-up is key. That's amazing. Good for you. You've been listening to part 1 of the Forever Fab podcast with my fabulous guest, Vanessa Ford. Stay tuned to part 2.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.